Welcome to another episode of Calling Old Hollywood. I'm your host.
What's my name?
Kat Lively. I'm happy. I think I've found my place. Welcome to another episode of Calling Old Hollywood. I'm your host, Kat Lively, and my guest this week is the incredible, legendary Ed Colver.
Speaking of old, here I am.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? For all of the viewers, listeners, people tuning in right now, Edward, you are one of the most incredible photographers, like, ever.
Most what?
Most incredible photographers, you know?
Oh, thank you.
So all of the music photography, the punk rock scene, you caught some of the most iconic punk images in existence.
Well, thank you.
Well, you know this. I know he's.
I have a lot of stuff nobody's seen yet. I have so many more photographs. You know, people think I did a lot of punk photos, and it's like you've seen a drop in the bucket of them.
Jesus.
You know.
So you're gonna publish these?
That's what I'm working on currently. Is doing another book, and I want it to be like a big fat book of all my punk photos. I'm hoping to put them, like, literally all of them in there. I would kind of like to do something like 30 Dead Kennedy photos. You know, like 25, 30 pictures of Black Flag, different group ones, live ones, different things, and that type of thing is what I'm hoping to do. And all the way down to, like, all these bands like the Rim Pest, and, you know, I keep joking about the Rim Pest. I've got pictures of them. Who's heard of them? Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't just photograph the big stars, and they weren't even big stars or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
When I was photographing them, they were pretty unknown.
You were there in the thick of everything. So, capturing all of these photographs, I want to hear the origin stories. How did you discover punk rock? How did you get into photography? Where did it all begin?
I heard a news report about some kind of like new music scene or something back in the days when I watched television. I didn't watch television for 25 years because there's commercials on there, and you know, my home is a sanctuary, and I wouldn't allow auditory or visual pollution to enter my environment. I was like adamant about it. When they used the Heard It Through the Grapevine for the California Dancing Raisins, I honestly got up and walked over and shut it off, and it was like I quit watching it.
That's it. The Raisins did it for you.
Yeah, I wasn't going to think of some product when I heard a song that I liked. That one wasn't anywhere near a favorite or anything. It was a good song, but you know, but I was like not going to think of your product. And I'm really glad I did that. I tuned out of that stuff a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I saw a news report on you know, the news, and went down and I went to Madame Wong's. And, you know, I saw the Robert Stoddard band, I think, and I saw the Motels. I liked the early Motels. They were really cool. They weren't a punk band, but they had a lot of, you know, they were cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, you know, I started hearing, I only went to Madame Wong's maybe 4 or 5 times, 6 times at the most. But like the Hong Kong Cafe opened up and booked punk shows, and I was over there. I always made a huge distinction between punk and new wave. For some reason, they, you know, they get used in the same sentence, and it's like, why? You know, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's like country and punk. It's the same difference, in my opinion. They didn't relate. They were going on the same time, but that shouldn't get them thrown into a sentence together, in my opinion.
Yeah, completely.
They're totally different things.
So what was it about punk rock that really struck you?
I grew up liking heavy underground psychedelic music, and then didn't go out much in the 70s, and in the 80s, you know, I saw this punk stuff, and it was amazing energy and just really cool stuff, and there was nobody there to see it. And that wasn't necessarily what made me, want to take photographs of it.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily inspiration. Like, somebody else has got to see this. I was just like, no, I was having fun, and I was shooting pictures with my friend Robert Hill, and we set up a darkroom at my house, and we're, printing pictures, and they were getting used all the time, and it was really fun, know, and I never would have imagined that it would become the history that it has. That just blows my mind. Like, nobody gave a damn about it. They didn't care about anything about it. Right. Didn't want to hear about it. Just, I don't know.
That's what I love, though. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like magic happens when you least expect it. You weren't doing it for like some ulterior motive. You weren't doing it to be popular, to be like. You were doing it because you enjoyed it. You were having fun.
Yeah.
It was just,
Well, my lifelong, like, I've been an art nut ever since a little kid, and my lifelong interest in art and studying and doing all forms of applied art. I never studied art history. I only paid attention to art that spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I concentrated on those, Like I've said it before, like Titian is an amazing painter, but it doesn't speak to me at all. It's like, he's great, but it's like, yawn. I don't care. It's kind of interesting. I like a lot of art after the advent of photography, like modern art. I like Egyptian art, and then mostly modern art, when the painters got it knocked out of a job for rendering people and landscapes, kind of, because the camera could do it better in essence. But then they started doing abstractions. There's Hieronymus Bosch that did all kinds of amazing stuff centuries ago, but in general, it's like, I like modern art, which is funny because it came after the advent of photography, basically.
What specifically? Because there were a million things you could have made films. You could have done music yourself, like, But what was it that you decided photography? I wanted to take photos.
Well, that was kind of a weird thing. It sort of just happened rather organically, I guess. That
best things do.
A friend of mine came over and brought a 35 millimeter camera. I'd never worked with one. I'd never had any thoughts of doing photography, and actually hadn't paid that much attention to it as a medium even. I was more, I was doing woodworking and ceramics and design and painting and, all that kind of stuff. And so when I got a hold of a camera, I just started taking, like, my friend came over, and I'd never shot with one. We took some pictures in the yard and around the room, pretty terrible, but, and then right after that, I ended up getting just a really cheap, junky 35 millimeter camera, and started going to punk shows and started taking it with me, and it all just kind of, happened. And then, due to collecting my style of antiques.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Which is the antithesis of the punk scene. But, I would come home after punk shows and sit down in this environment and listen to Eric Satie's music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's totally shifting gears.
Completely.
But I inadvertently, these fellow arts and crafts period collectors invited me over for dinner, and they had their brother-in-law and sister or something over there, and they said, "Hey, we heard you've been taking pictures." And this is like close to the end of 78 or something when I started taking pictures. And so I brought some, and I brought one of Johanna Wendt from the Hong Kong Cafe, and my friend's relatives were writers for BAM magazine, and they said, "Oh, we're doing an article on Johanna Wendt. Can we use her photo?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool, sure, cool," And like right after I started taking pictures, I started getting them published. And that was real inspiration. It's kind of like, oh, this is cool.
Did you have any like influences in photography that you kind of took any creative license from for your own photos, or was it just?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I'd say I was more influenced by art forms and graphics and design and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a few photographers that I really like. The first art photographer that I became familiar with was Diane Arbus.
Oh, of course,
I really like her stuff, you know, but, I never wanted to emulate her. She already did it.
Yeah.
That's like,
thank you.
To me,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like Mary Ellen Marks. She's great too.
Yes.
But, somebody said if I had advice for photographers, it's like, do something interesting, do something creative, have a vision of your own. Otherwise,
Right.
it's just like nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of become this joke. It's like photographers will start following me, and I'll look on their page for a photograph down a road.
Talking about
And
that,
it's like,
yeah. Where's the road
It's
photo?
like, no offense, but it's like, I don't know.
It's weird. It's weird, It's like in the way that technology has progressed. But back then, I mean, clearly the photographs that you've taken were done with a lot of heart and passion and talent. Because you can't just snap
I was in the middle
photo.
of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I've actually said that before. That even when I was in the pit getting knocked sideways, I was still trying to compose a photograph.
Right.
Like compose it,
Yeah.
not just shoot
You're not just
another
snapping.
picture.
Yeah, of course.
I was standing behind somebody one time, and they were holding the camera up, and they were holding the camera up, and holding it. It was about 2 minutes, and I'm just standing behind them watching, and all of a sudden, click, and it was like there was nothing special going on.
No.
That you're like, wow. It was really strange.
Did you say that to him?
Oh no. I just observing it from behind, and I was like,
Like,
oh, what the hell did you just take after all that time? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of strange. I used to shoot music to the rhythm of the music.
Yeah.
And then you capture the highlights, like da 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 da, boom, and it's like that's when you shoot.
Exactly.
And I used to try and photograph like singers when they were holding a note, because if you just shoot randomly, they're making like,
Right.
that's a strange phenomenon about photography. Is you take a still photograph of somebody when you're speaking, and it's like, I didn't just make a face like that to say hello. I did not. I swear,
Yes.
I didn't go like that.
Yes.
And it's just crazy, the faces like you get when it's like my nose wasn't over here, my lip touching it.
Yeah.
And, it's like
What's
making
going
these weird. It's a strange thing.
It's crazy.
I was pretty good about not getting people, even when I'm shooting bands and stuff, of not getting people to blinking. I was really good. When you're photographing like 5 people in a group, you're watching them all at the same time. You got to pay attention to the composition and what everybody's expression is, and and their eyes. Here's a good trick: if you're ever if you have to photograph 100 people, especially like if it's outdoors, especially, and you're using bright light and stuff, and people are squinting like moles or something. You just have the whole group close their eyes. Wait a second. Okay, on the count of 3, open. You go 1, 2, 3. It's kind of effective. Bowie.
Bowie. Yeah, you're talking about Bowie.
I was into Bowie really early on.
Yeah.
I was buying all kinds of import copies of records in the late 60s and stuff, and I bought his Space Oddity record, and it was amazing. And then I bought Man Who Sold the World, the drag queen cover.
Yes.
I had the one with the turquoise dots
Like
and
the
stuff
very
in his
Greta Garbo.
pupils.
Oh yeah.
That was
yes,
the
yes,
import
yes.
copy I had, and then I had the drag queen cover and Man Who Sold the World. I love that record.
I love that cover. It was a very. I think that's he was
the drag queen
intentionally.
one?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he was intentionally going for like a Greta Garbo, like very.
Oh, yeah.
old, it was
Yeah.
perfect. It was perfect.
And then I actually sought out and bought a brand new copy, unopened copy of his London album with David Jones, his first record.
London Boy. Well, no, the London Boys was on that. Yeah, no. Oh, I'm Laughing Gnome. Was it the Laughing Gnome record? I think that was one of his first 2 when he was still David Jones. Before
Laughing Gnome, I don't know that.
Yeah, before they
But-
changed. They made him change his name because of the monkeys.
Yeah, good idea. I would have anyway.
They said Bowie, like a Bowie knife.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I wasn't into him quite so much, and he hadn't come over to tour, and I was kind of like, on to other stuff, sort of. I like a lot of bands' first record. That's their best effort, and it's like virtually always downhill from there. It's a really strange thing that, their best effort goes into their first record. People say, well, then the record companies, and I don't know. It's
Before they learn how to really play, I like that though.
It's not as contrived.
Right, completely.
I think that the art world, there's great stuff being done, but I think in general the art world, it's like people sitting up late at night like, what could I do to be cool? What could I do to be cool? That to me, just most stuff just reeks of that. It's like, sorry. It's like,
I get that. I completely get it.
You know, and people make money to make art off of it is kind of the wrong inspiration. And to me, it's like people calling themselves artists is kind of like, who deemed that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, history will tell.
Right,
That's kind of my opinion of it.
It's the ulterior motive, you know? It's like, when you do things, you know, of course it's LA. It's like 98% of people are, you know, things are very skewed now. I mean, I guess it kind of always has been, but, you know, even more so now is people are just, they just want to make a buck. They don't want to really make true art. They just want to make things that will sell. It's consumerism.
Well, you know, that's good in its own way, but I think it's the wrong inspiration.
Yeah, definitely. So you have photographed so many incredible musicians, figures in pop culture. Who are some of your favorites? What were some of your favorite shoots personally? And we've done like X, Gun Club, Nick Cave, even Ice Cube.
My favorite shoots?
Yeah. What were those like? I mean, like stories?
Well, I don't know. You know, coming up with the concept of how to realize the Black Flag damage cover was fun, and that was cool shooting that. I had photographs where his eyes were glowing red from the flash, and I can't find him. I just want to cry.
No.
I haven't seen him in over 35 years, I think. But they were amazing. They were better than the damage cover. And the band says, "Oh, this is too demented." And I was like, "It's called Damaged." I don't know.
Yeah. It's true.
You know, it's so upsetting to me to see those horrible reissues of Damage. I see those and I just cringe. It's like, that's not my photograph. What the hell did you do to it? You know, washed out black and white, not even good black and white. Why don't they contact me? I could provide them with a beautiful black and white one if they want to do that. But, you know, I saw what's the name of that dumb band? Nickelback.
Yeah.
Nickelback Damage parody that was 100 times better than any of the reissues. And it's like, look, they used a good one. This looks nice. You know, but anyway.
It's crazy.
You know, shooting Timothy Leary was fun.
Yeah.
The very, very first photo I took of him is the one I liked the best. I didn't shoot very many.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't. There was a few people I wanted to photograph and didn't get to. I would have loved to photograph Karl-Heinz Stockhausen and John Cage and William Burroughs, but that never happened.
Yeah. What were these, you know, what was it? I guess I feel like I'm coming from like such a millennial perspective. I mean, I am, because I'm, you know, I wasn't there, I wasn't around, but these people like Jeffrey Lee Pierce, you know, we talk about the Gun Club, people like that. What was he like? What was those shoots like with them?
Oh, it was fun. No pressure. We're just like hanging out and running around trying, you know, shooting stuff at different locations. It was all like virtually all in Hollywood, which was funny.
Yeah.
You know, Jeffrey's mom, she still has a place, but she lived right down, like, you know, a couple blocks from the Whiskey. And so, you know, we shot right there on Highland. By the way, it was like a lot of those shoots all stem from their rehearsal studio, which is right across the street on Highland on Selma from Hollywood High. And that's where they rehearsed. And so the Baptist church is just like a stone's throw away from there is where we shot the...
That's my favorite photo. My favorite photo of the Gun Club is that one in front of that church there on like Las Palmas. Yeah. I've intentionally... Selma. Yes.
Is that Las Palmas on the north-south street?
I think so, yeah. So it's like Las Palmas and Selma right there at the end of it. Yeah, I remember when I first moved to LA and I was so, you know, I had been into punk rock since I was like 12 or something. I'd gotten into it. And I used to steal library books, punk library books. And I would, you know, I was reading because I was like, oh, I just want to keep this. So I would just, you know. Anyway, little klepto kid. But I would read these about like the Gun Club, and I'd read about the Mask, and read about all of these, you know, and like your name came up, of course, in like some of the books with photography and stuff. So I had like this idea of who you were, but of course I didn't know who you were, and I was still literally like, you know, 13 years old or something. But I was just remember being so fascinated by reading about all the history and all these things that happened. And so when I first moved here, one of the first things that I was doing was scouting out, like, that's where that was taken, and that's where photo was taken. So in the Baptist church was one. I was like, that's where my favorite gun club photo was taken.
I'll have to show you, like, you know, I shot probably 20 of them on the porch that day.
Yeah.
You know.
It's cool.
I think that maybe, I don't even remember. There's alternate ones, a couple of horizontal, a couple of vertical ones and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they were all just so freaking cool.
It's strange that a lot of these records that I worked on, they're all turning 40 right now. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like there's reissues up, you know, like crazy. I wish the hell they do damage properly. It's like, come on.
So they didn't consult you? They didn't
Never.
Nothing?
I haven't talked to any of those guys. The last time I talked to Greg Ginn was 1985, the last time I shot Black Flag.
Yeah.
They were in my studio and around the brewery, and I shot them there. Mm-hmm. And that, like, I haven't talked to him at all since then.
I get that.
Yeah, I've seen Henry on and off, but he's got nothing to do with it.
What was shooting Nick Cave like? How did that come about?
I photographed him. It was on the set of the IRS Record Company's Cutting Edge show, and I was a still photographer on there, and they were interviewing him at on the porch at Chateau Marmont, and I was shooting stills. I shot quite a few of them. A lot of times I wouldn't shoot very many stills. I did, you know, I always kind of stayed out of the way.
Those are some great photos.
Oh, I've got some you haven't seen too. That was the case with my photographs of Robert Fripp from King Crimson and Tom Waits.
Yeah, Waits.
When I photographed Tom Waits, I took 3 frames.
Yeah.
I walked up to him and I did 1 horizontal and 2 verticals, and then I walked away. And they're all 3 printable. And I was talking about not getting people's eyes closed. Actually, I have one where his eyes closed, and it's a nice photo. It looks like he's thinking. It doesn't look like I just, you know, or anything. He's just he's got his head tipped a little bit and his eyes are closed, and it looks like he's just, you know, thinking. And it's not a bad photo, especially considering.
So the Epitaph days, when Tom Waits was the Epitaph.
That was way before that.
Yeah. Way before.
That was
okay.
85.
So now he
got signed at Epitaph way later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked when that happened.
It's crazy. Did you go to the Mask?
No, I was good friends with Brendan Mullen, but that was kind of before my time. I think I went to a quote-unquote Mask reunion or 2, that kind of thing.
Right.
You know, so...
It's crazy. It's
the original one, no. I kind of missed the whole first wave. I was there from the beginning of the birth of hardcore.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I showed up and started shooting.
Right.
I actually worked on 80 punk rock records before the end of 1983.
Man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I remember one month there was supposed to be 12 records come out with my stuff, but scheduling and printing and stuff, it didn't happen, but it was supposed to have happened. It was like 12 records in a month. It was crazy.
That's a lot. But that's a testament to talent and art, you know? When you put your work ethic where your passion is.
I always say do good work and people will find you.
Exactly.
You know, it's like most photographers kind of pushy.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's really obnoxious.
I get that. So it's like that theory. It's like if you build it, they will come. If you do something that's from the heart and... Yeah.
I've actually, I've never ran an ad. I've never asked for work. I have an unpublished phone number, and I use funeral sympathy cards. Like
I know, I love it.
I gave you.
Love it.
The envelope rocks them. I used them for years without the envelope.
Deepest sympathy. Yes, we'll show the listeners here. Our viewers.
And
so it's deepest sympathy. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I've been using those for many, many, many years.
So cool.
What was I going to say?
Not running ads, running any kind of stuff like that.
I never asked for work. It all just came to me. You know, I'm kind of lucky, but I was also hopefully doing good enough work that's...
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've done some strange record covers too, besides like, you know, stuff that I'm known for.
Yeah.
I did an album cover for Adrian's Med from T.J. Hooker. I did an album cover for this guy named Lewis. That was his pseudonym, Lamore by Lewis.
Lamore by
Yeah, a guy named Randy Wolf. He screwed me over for the payment.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
That sucks. Well, it's the biz, I guess, sometimes.
Staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah. It's craziness. What was, you photographed also one of the most iconic images of Exene from X.
Oh, yeah.
What so casual about it? This is massive, maybe to me.
I just had the idea to photograph her like that, with her arms crossed. I've actually screen captured a couple of Chola chicks that are doing that, and I wanted to send them to her and go, hey, look at this. I'd never seen anybody doing it before that.
Yeah.
And I actually took a piece of a sheet, a torn piece of a sheet, and 4 thumbtacks or something with me when I went to see him. That was 1979 at the Whiskey. I shot that at the end of 79 and made the graphic design out of the photograph in the very early 1980 when I did that. Yeah. I should have done more of that kind of stuff with my, art background and stuff. Like I did the TSOL EP cover, and I did the Super Heroines, Cry for Help, the same way with the stat print and the high contrast, and actually Joanna Went's Hyena album I did the same way. But then I wasn't, there wasn't a lot of graphic designers around to do that kind of stuff back then either,
Right. What was the process? How did you do that?
Oh, I took a photograph and then actually took it out to Bomp Records, where Lisa Fancher from Frontier and Diane Zinkavage was working for both of them, a graphic designer, and she had taken my blurred bad color photo of the Circle Jerks and turned it into a stat print and then colorized it and did that group sex cover, which was really, it came out great, but it was kind of salvaged. And I learned from her doing the stat print on a stat camera, and you could size it. And so I took a TSOL print over there and asked her to make me a stat print of it and blow it up. She made it to like 12 1/4 because it was intended for that 12-inch EP. And actually, I think I added black paper to the top, if I recall right. And then I touched it up. It was like a stat print is a high contrast with no gray tones. It's black and white. It loses, it just becomes a total high contrast print. Things will fall out. Actually, Bill Bartell from White Flag, rest in peace, he was wearing a shirt that said "Punk Sucks," and a lot of people thought it got censored out, but it just disappeared in the high contrast stat print.
Oh,
it just disappeared. It would have been really cool. She could have made a different contrast print and cut it out and laid it on there before it went to the copy cameras. How this stuff, it was all laid out and stripped together, and then it was photographed on a large format copy camera to create a negative to do the half dome from, to print from. It's a whole different process.
Yeah, completely.
And
so back then though, it's like with things like the photographs, flyers, all of it, it was a real process, and like it was something that you really kind of committed to getting done. You made it
yourself. You didn't go out and hire somebody.
Yeah, or download an app and that's click a button. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
your phone will do it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. But back then,
it's like I was omnipresent. I was out at like 4 or 5 nights a week. I was out shooting punk shows all the time, and I drove in from Covina. I drove. And what was I going to say about it?
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, my train of thought just ran out of steam.
That's okay.
I forgot what I was going to say about that. Damn.
Oh yeah, the process of the prints and the way that it all.
Oh. I don't know. I don't think that a lot of people understand the process and what it was like. Doing like exposing film and what happens, Somebody said, "You got any more snapshots?" And it just like that just honestly just pissed me off.
That would piss me off too.
Yeah, buddy.
It's kind of it's like that's such undermining of what
belittling it.
Yeah.
Totally. Like personally, I appreciate people like crazy saying nice stuff, but great pic is so lazy. It's like it's a photograph. It ain't a pic. It ain't a snapshot. I like to deem them photographs anyway. And it's like great pic is really, it's like as nice as it is, it's kind of like not like I
Yeah.
hate social media where they say rip, 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 rip. You can't take a second and say rest in peace. No,
Right.
it's rip, rip, rip.
Right.
Everybody rip, and it's like, yeah, we know they're dead. You know, it's like, come on, you know, get a life. No
Yeah.
pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. I don't know.
No, I
just
totally
think
get
it's,
it.
I think it's lazy and rude
Yeah.
to say rip.
But it's like with the photographs, with all of it. It's not like
Just
you just.
my opinion.
No, I agree.
You know.
Yeah, no, we've gotten very lazy as a culture. It's like, you know, what you have done, your work, you know, it's not like you just kind of picked up your iPhone and went, hey, cool, here's a photo, I'm a photographer. It's like your work was done with so much of a process and heart and just this artistic mind. So I totally get it. You know, I would be, yeah, like you're saying, as nice as it is, wonderful people like your work, it is. It's just a little bit, you know, hey, that's a wonderful photograph, or that's, you know, it's something.
Yeah, it's, you know.
Verbiage.
It is just what it is.
Verbiage
I
is
appreciate
important.
people saying nice things, though.
Yeah.
It's very cool that people say, I had my stuff, you know, all over your walls, you know, or, you know, whoops.
Yeah.
You know, people would say, like, I had my photo, or, again, people would say, I had your photographs all over my bedroom walls. And there was one guy, he said his dad took the picture of the Angry Samoans group photo off the back and had it blown up into a poster to put up in his office. And it was like, wow, weird. You know, it's kind of interesting hearing these stories.
That's awesome. I mean, you know, it's not to undermine you at all. It's like you have done some of the most, you've captured some of the most amazing moments in punk history, and that's not a small feat. Like,
yeah,
it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, great pick. Just kidding.
Click.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It is what it is.
It's crazy. But we're so glad that, you know, you're around, you're able to come on the podcast. Are there any other stories or anything that you want to share about different photo shoots or just anything at all?
I don't know. I like, you know, like say when I was talking about photographing Tom Waits, it's like I knew I got what I wanted, and like when I shot that picture of Ice Cube, if you know the one where he's just like looking like that, I spent 60 seconds taking that photograph.
Yeah.
And it's like I did. It wasn't 2 minutes. It was 60 seconds. I took 10 photographs of him, had him put his chin down, and I was like, click, 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 and done.
Yeah.
And I think I shot 2 Polaroids and didn't look at them. The whole process, it was like 1 minute. I'm not kidding. I had a light and a stand, and I had my medium format camera. Photo. And I had him move over. I was shooting him at a record contract thing, and I had him just sit on the arm of a chair to get a blank background wall behind him, and just told him to put his chin down, and I did 10 photos.
Yeah.
And used it for his greatest hits package. I wasn't supposed to take it. The suits walked back in after the suits were gone. They walked back in and go, "What are you doing?" And I was like, you know, I asked him, I said, "Hey, can I take a picture?" He goes, "Sure." I still got his old business card.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was an interesting, smart guy. I liked him. And it went on to prove true, too.
Yeah.
I photographed Eazy with a shotgun in his mouth and a big cloud of smoke behind him. He was a whole different story.
Yeah, what's the craziest thing that you've encountered?
Modern politics.
I think we can all agree with that.
Like, I don't know. There was like, this is one of my favorite like music industry stories. Is like when Eazy was in my studio. Actually, I had this sculpture I made in 1987. It's an antique Ku Klux Klan outfit with a worn-out Levi's and cowboy boots and work gloves hanging from a noose. Yeah. And it's called The Well-Hung Klansman, and I made that in 1987. And when Eazy-E was in my studio, he was videotaping it, and I never heard anything about it, like, you know, getting used or anything. I was like, oh, great, what are you going to do with that? But when he was there, I said, oh, I really like the way you sampled The Last Poets off the Ride On soundtrack and Real Niggers Don't Die. And he was kind of like, what? It was like, yeah, I knew what he sampled and where it came from and stuff. And that was before rap was anything. That was like right after gangster rap broke up.
Yeah.
You know.
crazy. But you knew it. You did your research. You got it. That's
I photographed Run DMC. I've never printed any of them. Ice Cube, Eazy-E, Snoop Dogg, Ice-T, a couple other ones.
It's been amazing. He's been all over the board, from punk to hip hop. I mean,
Well, I posted that photo of Shaka Khan, and then Mickey Dolenz, and then the Animals. It's really funny. And somebody said, "You get around." And it's like, hey, I was shooting for 40 years.
Did everything.
You know.
Was there ever like, so it's my podcast. Sometimes I'll have like a list of like people that I really want to have on. Did you ever have like this, like a list or any kind of process where you're like, I really want to photograph this person and this person and?
Well, I kind of said that with Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, and John Cage, and William Burroughs. Yeah, that was the ones that I would have liked to photograph.
Yeah. Did you ever get a hold of them, or did you just not?
No, I never tried to, and they're all dead.
Yeah.
You know, I met John Cage before, or right about actually when I started doing photography, and I didn't have my camera with me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like a lot of times the environments are like, you know what? You know, I'm creative and pretty quick, but it's like this environment sucks and I'm not really inspired, so it's like there's no sense in bothering to take any photos. You know, it's like, if it's like a paparazzi snapshot, it's like, who cares? You got a picture of them that sucks. You know, it's like...
It's the back of their head or something.
Yeah. Oh, there was a post, a picture of the back of Ian Mackay's head from Minor Threat, and it got over 3,000 likes, and it's like, huh?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's really weird.
It's wild.
There was nothing special going on in it.
Reminds me of like the Rancid, like the Out Come the Wolves cover, you know, it was just like sitting there on the steps.
That's a good picture.
I liked it. A couple last questions. A couple last questions. I'm sure you've been asked this a million times. Advice to aspiring photographers, people getting into the arts.
Advice to budding photographers? Well, I kind of mentioned that you should, do something original, create your own style.
Don't copy.
Stand out. When somebody's already done it, if you're not going to put a spin on it, or do something with it, then there's no sense. It's just straight copying. And people say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I've always said imitation is the sincerest form of unoriginality. It's like somebody else already did that,
right?
And you're claiming you're doing something cool. It's like, I don't know.
Completely agreed. That, and then one more question, and this is a question I ask, it's a curveball I ask at the end of my episodes. If you could be any character from The Wizard of Oz, who would you be and why?
I can't recall the characters.
I'll just say how.
Oh wait, the Lion and the Tin Man stuff? Oh, I don't know. Never thought about it. That is a curveball.
Yeah. I think Toto would fit in here. All the puppies.
So let's see. There's a Tin Man, the
Scarecrow, Tin Man, Dorothy, Wizard of Oz. There's the Good Witch, the Bad Witch, Cowardly Lion.
I don't know. It'd be the Bad Witch. The Bad Witch?
I don't know. She wears some cool stockings, that's for sure. All right. Well, where can people, the website, how can people find you online? Social media, or the so-so media, we call it.
Yeah. I'm on Instagram. Yeah. I do not go on Facebook anymore.
All that stuff. Understandable.
It became a bunch of idiots arguing with a bunch of morons.
I don't go on Facebook too much either.
Yeah, I don't. I cross posts onto there, and I've heard that people are saying nice things about my work, but it's like I stay awfully busy with Instagram alone. It keeps me pretty busy just trying to keep up. I can't even keep up with all the messages I get either.
I get it.
It makes me feel bad. It's like I'm trying.
No, it's okay. You're one person, But
yeah, that's true. It is me you're dealing with. That's not.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Any last words for the viewers, listeners?
I want to thank you, Kat, for having me on. I appreciate your interest in my work.
Absolutely.
Very kind of you. Fun.
I'm glad we finally got to do it. We've been talking about this for a while. Yes.
I don't know. Maybe a thought that I've had that by making subgenres of the human species is what caused racism. If you looked at your fellow humans as simply a fellow human being, that I think people's attitude would change quite a bit.
Wise words. Absolutely. And on that note, this has been...
Thank you.
Calling Old...